Hello and welcome to our first ever Q&A. I'm Dan Seaver and I'll be your host. You guys have been sending us your questions all week. Let's get right into it. Weakest part of Chums for this season, I think, will be their lack of experience. After losing both outsides, North Player of the Year, they'll have some holes to fill. Lucky for them, they got Matt Kuda coming back, they got Jackson Gamer. I think that how they play will correlate directly to the season. If they can get the experience after playing tougher teams in their regular season, I think they'll be just fine come postseason. Well, the MVC is the MVC. I think they are the strongest and most dominant conference overall in the state. But this season, I do believe they are down a little bit. I think that the Bay State Conference is at a whole nother level. I feel that they are the same exact level as the North region out west with Agawam and teams like that, Westfield, etc. I think that the Bay State Conference is the best conference in the state, but MVC is definitely second. They are usually the most dominant conference in the state. Putting the word odds in a scenario like this is a very tough situation. They do have a good shot at winning North. I believe MVC teams, one of them will be able to win the North because a team like Cambridge, after losing Jalen and Rodolfo, will be down. I believe they're definitely have a high shot of winning the North. Then you have to go and travel and play a South champion, which is most likely going to be a Bay State team. Very tough to do. Then you have to go and play a West team, most likely defending state champs Agawam. It's going to be a very tough road for an MVC team. I think teams like Lawrence and Chelmsford can definitely do it, depending on how they mold and take time in the offseason. I think if they come together as teams, play together, improve as they are, they have a good chance to win the state championship, North championship, and it'll make it a much better game. After a great season last year, I think Ludlow is going to be in some trouble this season. They lost most of their starting lineup, including 4 of those players being Mass Live All-Stars. They need some time to rebuild, I feel as though. Being in a very tough North Conference with Chicopee Comp, Agawam, Westfield. Come the end of the season, we'll see how they'll do, but they're going to have to come together and play off-season. They're going to have to work much harder than other teams that are out there. I believe they definitely have potential. I think they could be 4th or 5th as of right now in the North section. But they definitely can come together as a team, beat Westfield, beat Chicopee Comp, give Agawam a game. It depends on how much effort they want to put in. I think right now they're 4th or 5th place team out west. What am I looking forward to most this club season? Well, it's got to be Pioneer Valley versus Smash. It's what everybody's looking forward to. West versus South. It's like Bay States except better. This has all the All-Stars from South, all the All-Stars from West, playing on one team. It's going to be a battle. I think one of these two teams is going to definitely be the NERVA champion this year. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a game that no one wants to miss. In my opinion, no. As a former Midwalk player, it's tough to say that Midwalk is going to dominate. I know they've improved over the past couple of years. I think they're definitely better. I think Wachusett's a decent team this year. Leominster's definitely improved so much over the past couple of years. But Milford, they're not going to be that down this year. They return 2 starting outsides. Lincoln Sudbury has improved a lot since last season. They will definitely be back close to contention. Natick is still a central team. Whether they play Bay State or not, they are a central team come playoff time. They have improved a lot since last season. We saw a lot of improvement from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. I think that Natick's definitely going to be a tough team. Medfield's going to be a really tough team. Framingham, another Bay State team, is very tough. Severian's a very good team. I think that Midwalk's in some trouble in this tournament. I don't think they dominate this by any means. this is tough for me because I personally have not been able to make it to a fall ball game this season. I plan on making it to one coming up soon, but from what I've heard, Barnstable has been a really great team. They are making a lot of noise, and they could be the real deal in the South. We know they have a player from Millis. We know they have a player from Brookline. I still think that this team is doing so much more than we put in front of them. They have a great setter. They have a great libero. They have a phenomenal coach. I think this team, if they play like they are right now, I think this team could be the real deal in the South. I think they could shock a lot of people coming up. No, not at all. Agawam is a great team. We do not base our top 25 off of what they did last season. We're going to base it off what they're going to do this season. Agawam is returning a lot of starters from an already great team. They're going to have the most explosive offense in the state. I think that this team has the best chance to repeat. If our all-star teams played, I think it would end up being West versus South. I think that both those teams have explosive offenses and a libero that can hold down their defense. I think that in the end, I think that South shows a little bit more talent than West. Nothing personal, just I think that South would have a little bit of an edge over West, and they would just be able to outlast them in the end. This season, I would have to go with the Bay State Conference. With the state champion hopeful Needham, Framingham, Wellesley, Newton North, who can all battle with anybody in the state, not to mention growing Braintree, Norwood, Natick are all playoff level teams. I think the Merrimack Valley is definitely up there, but I think Bay State just has a lot of talent this year. I don't think anybody would beat them in a league versus league challenge. This season, I think that the South Alliance is going to have one of their best years in a long time. With Greater New Bedford growing every single day, Barnstable playing the way that they've played in fall ball, and Taunton just always finds ways to win games, I think that this league is going to be growing. I think that Greater New Bedford could be the biggest upset team in the South. If you're Needham, if you're the number one seed, if you're anybody in the South, Greater New Bedford is a team that you do not want to get come playoff time. Other than those three games, I would have to say that Seaver and Medfield is definitely up on my list. In this game, that could be a Western Alliance championship. These two could easily be battling in a preview of the Central title game. Greater New Bedford versus Barnstable, two teams that are showing great improvement over the past couple of years. Barnstable looks like they could be an upset team. Greater New Bedford showed that they're improving as time goes on. Both of these teams will be playing in the South bracket, and I think both of them could take out just about anybody that they're going to face. Holyoke versus Sabis. That's going to be a preview of a possible game in playoffs. I think Holyoke versus Sabis is going to be the Southwestern championship game, and I think that's going to be a revenge game for Sabis. I think they're ready to go out there and take the win. The best game that I've ever seen. Now, I think that the best game I've ever seen was when I was a sophomore and we had to go to the state championship game to pick up our sportsmanship award. The game between Chicopee Comp and Natick was a wild 5 game set of volleyball, and it was high flying action with all stars like Ryan Seifert, Patrick Sibley. It was one of the most offensive games I've ever seen in my life. It was crazy. Balls were being smashed to the floor. Crowds were going wild. Definitely one of the best games I've ever seen in my life. All right, well, let's start with West. In West, I think Savis is the biggest upset team. They show a lot of potential. They're a very young team. You put in Alon with that team, I think that they have a great shot to win their conference. Central, Natick looks to be building up well from what I've seen. I think that after a tough season last year and their improvement throughout the year, I think they're going to come in and have a lot more talent than these Central teams think. I think that they could very easily make their way toward a Central title. Up north, Andover, a very young team. They were a very good team a couple years ago. They lost a lot. Now they're rebuilding. I think they're finally back, ready for title contention. I think that they're going to give Lawrence and Chelmsford both games for that title. With the rest of the people around here, though, of course, I'm choosing Wellesley in the South. They're a young team. They're not really that old of a program. They are going to come in with Ben Cohen, and they're going to give teams a run for their money in any way, shape, or form. I think that they are one of the most talented teams. I think that they can beat anybody in the state. This year, it's going to be tough. I think that Central is a lot more competitive this season than they have been in the past couple of years. Past couple of years, you've had a very dominant LS team come through. You had a good Milford team come through. You had a very good Natick team come through. This season, I think it's more well-rounded. You have teams like Medfield, Framingham, Wachusett, Severian. There's many teams that can compete for this title. I think that what it comes down to is depending on how the brackets work out, I think that the championship should be Severian versus Framingham. I think that Framingham is the better of the two teams. I think Framingham could very easily be our Central champions this year. For our top 25, we use the input of our staff, the current records, and teams that other teams play. They determine who is the best team in the state, who plays the best teams in the state, and why they deserve those rankings. For our game of the week, we'll use who deserves more, who is going to gain more out of what game. If there's two top 25 teams, that'll probably be the game of the week. If there's two teams playing for playoff contention, that will probably be our game of the week. We want it to be the most important game at the current time. At the early part of the season, we're going to focus mainly on the games of the week due to us being at school. After we get out of school, we plan on covering at least 1 to 2 games every week, and we hope to provide live radio broadcasts of the playoff games. As of right now, no. We've been contacted by the Volleyball Hall of Fame about possibly doing a collaboration. We'll be meeting with them within the next couple of months, and we hope to plan it all out. We hope that maybe we can run one this June. Absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind. I believe that Needham would be just fine without him. He was a big force at the net, but one person does not make a team. They are still returning most of their rosters. They have probably the second best offense in the state with a great setter in Alex, and I just think that they're going to be a tremendous team this year with or without him. I don't really think you can put who will play the biggest role in terms of one player. I think that both Matt Kuda and Alon Chappelle are in the same situation. I think they're both good players on a younger team. I think Matt has a better team behind him as of right now, but I definitely think Savis can get there. I think both of those players are going to really have to step up and play a leadership role this year. Then I think Michael Antonellis is in the same role for Milford. He is a great player, but we'll have to see how his team bounces back from the losses from last season. I think that all three of these players are going to have to step up to make their teams better. I think that if these players play their roles like they should, these will be some of the best teams in the state. But if they fail, I think that these teams could very easily drop below the bar. Biggest Cinderella has to go to Westford Academy. They do not shy away from playing anyone, no matter whether they're a high-level team or a low-level team. Westford Academy is not afraid to take a loss in their schedule to get a good game in. I think that come playoff time, they're always ready to play against anybody in the bracket, and I definitely think that they can compete and beat anybody in the bracket come that time. I think that once the bracket gets here, watch out for Westford Academy because they're going to be a Cinderella team this year. Despite losing a lot of talent, I definitely think that this team is still up there. I think that they have put in a lot of work. They're showing that they want to be there. I don't expect them to be hoisting up the South Trophy anytime soon, but I definitely think that this team can come around this season and compete with anybody. I think Jay Connors and Preston Wong both have talent to keep this team together. I think that this team is going to be a very under-the-radar team this season. As of right now, no, and we don't plan on doing it. As of now, we plan on this being our preseason All-Stars. We will release our postseason All-Stars, which are the actual teams that people really want to make. We plan on releasing those after the spring season. As of right now, these are going to be the teams that we keep for our preseason teams. This year is a Central versus West year and a North versus South year. We want to take this time for thanking you for joining us. Thank you for the questions, and we hope to see you guys soon.